you. Step 3.
No music.
Grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4. Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. We are back and better than ever. My name is Bradley Ball, and it is so good to have you with us. Last week, Neeraj Jhaveri delivered our Monday MS Tech Bits, Fabric cost licensing and provisioning. You want to make sure and check that out so you understand how Microsoft Fabric works from a cost perspective. Then on Tuesday, we had our community roundtable. And on Wednesday, we released Microsoft Fabric real-time analytics tutorial. That was a lot of fun. Then this Monday, we had the return of Andreas Padilla with Neeraj Jhaveri. We had Azure Machine Learning Responsible AI Framework, Understanding, Assessing, and Dashboarding. Oh my, so much to see. You don't want to miss a thing. So if this is your first time finding your way over to our channel, make sure and give us a like and give us a subscribe. If you want to interact with the show, it is so easy to do. We are right now broadcasting exclusively on our Tales from the Field channel over on YouTube. If you make a comment on that stream, one of my amazing co-hosts will see that. They will add that to the show, and you will be a part of the show, and we would love to hear from you. Speaking of those amazing co-hosts, I am joined by Daniel Taylor and for Andreas Padilla, Josh Ludeman, and Tom Cruise's most intense stuff of his life would be spending 1 hour as this man. It's your friend and mine, Neeraj Jhaveri. I don't know that Tom Cruise could pull it off. I've seen him do a lot of amazing things, free falling off of that giant cliff in the latest Mission Impossible, jumping from one train to another, doing the speed walking or the speed like skydiving thing. None of that. I was
going to say that almost seemed like a downgrade on Neeraj. That whole thing where Tom Cruise did speed walking. Really?
To be fair, it was a parachute gliding like inches above the ground at 50 miles an hour. Still,
to be
doesn't
fair,
match the New York subway.
Well, yeah, and you still didn't call out, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best he did, which was in the previous Mission Impossible. He was jumping from one building to another, broke his ankle when he hit the other building, and that was the take they put in the movie, including him pulling himself up and like staggering away from the edge of the building. That was the cut where he broke his ankle and staggered away because his ankle's broken.
I was going to say
that's it right there for me.
The only Tom Cruise thing I could do out of everything you just mentioned is stagger. I can stagger.
Oh, I can break my ankle. Don't think less of me for 1 second. I can break my ankle with
Josh, that's not a dare. So I remember once upon a time, back when we were working for Pragmatic, I'm Josh's boss at the time, and I get this text message from Josh, and sometimes the image goes before the text. Well, he had added some text with this, but the image came in first, and it's
Slack
him in the back of an ambulance. It's the picture of the back of the ambulance. And then it comes in and he goes, "I'm going to be late for work today." And I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
So to be fair, you didn't know it was an ambulance because all you saw were two metal doors with yellow and black reflective tape running down them. But it didn't say ambulance on it. So it wasn't obvious. I made
trust
it
me.
a little fun.
Well, no, I knew what that view looks like. Trust me, you don't have to write in there a bunch of times to know what that view looks like. But yeah,
just because it was me, you knew exactly what it was.
I'm noticing a pattern though with Josh in that context, because he sent us a text a month ago, and I won't go into it, but it basically had death and then and we were like, whoa, Josh, what are you talking about? And we were like, Josh has an ordering issue when he shares information sometimes.
I get putting syllables on it.
I get excited and I misspell. Josh just has us freak the F out for a little while.
I just have fun with pictures and GIFs and things. I mean, that's the thing. I actually sent it to Threads last week or the week before, whenever it was 2 weeks ago when they kicked off. And I said to them, you're not really operating at the level I need. Or it was Threads or it was Blue Sky, one of the two. And I said, because you don't have my language loaded yet. And I got a response back, and they said, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, "There's no GIF button yet. I can't speak."
Yeah.
I speak
Well,
in
so
GIF without
so just so
them
you
unlocked.
know, the way around that is you have to add in a keyboard extension.
Oh, I
I
found
did
that.
that.
I found
Yeah.
that, but I just had more fun giving them a little bit of
Yeah.
GIF.
So I'm gonna jump over to Dan. Dan added an away from the field this weekend, and it hits the short stream. We've got hundreds of views on it. Dan, you had an amazing time at a concert. Tell me what was going on.
I did. So first, I want to give shout out to the artists we saw in the morning, Chris Dokeby. We collect vinyl figures and artwork, and we went to that. But we went to an amazing show at the the amphitheater down the road here, not Emily. And it was Berlin, Howard Jones, and Culture Club. I will tell you, out of the three, though, we love Berlin. Y'all know I love Berlin. I'm even wearing our No More Words t-shirt right here. But out of the three, Howard Jones blew me away. He was the best act of the night. And the funniest thing is what helped blow up that little short was when Howard Jones hit the like on the button. And I was like, Howard Jones hit the like on the button. So
I saw that.
So I'm running around the house showing people Parker, who's 17 and a social media. He's just like, I show Missy and she was as excited. But my 17-year-old was like, yeah, that's normal, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I was so giddy when Howard Jones actually liked that I put out that. So yeah, it was a great concert. And look, folks, I recommend it, getting out there, right? Get to the concerts you like or get out and doing something. We're more than just technologists. And to be honest, I felt so much refreshed Sunday when I put that up, knowing I could come into work, that I had a great weekend. So, and you don't have to do things, right? I know money is tight for some people. Go to a park. You got lots of local parks around you. Just pack up, get outside, put the technology down for a little while, and do something fun.
Absolutely. No, there's a lot of great stuff out there. And what I love is that we all get to see a little bit of a window into one another's life with the different fun things we're doing. I've got an adult night out with some friends where we're all leaving the kids at home this weekend. I'm hopefully going to have something that I get to add over the weekend as well. It'll be a good time. But speaking of a good time, let's get to the reason that people are here in the first place. It is time for us to get to the content in the roundtable. And the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to kick this off with LinkedIn. We have a group that we have created, the Microsoft Fabric Learning Group. We have a member of the PG who's one of the administrators, myself, Josh, Dan, Neeraj. We are all administrators on this group. What's incredible is we created this last Friday. It hasn't been even active a week, and we've already got 347 different members. We've got a lot of different posts from a lot of different folks. We've got a lot of great content in here. If you are looking to learn on Microsoft Fabric, this is a wonderful place for you to go to learn. And all of our links are already in the description of the video over on YouTube. So if you are looking for this, just click on that little group link and you will be able to add yourself. We don't have any pre-checks associated with this. And there's been some great conversations from the product group talking about stuff that they're going to put in there. And this is wonderful. So please take advantage of this. And it's a great place for us to go learn.
Wait a minute. You said there's no checks associated with it. I mean, we're not getting paid?
No, that's not how
volunteer work.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not how groups work on LinkedIn, Josh. So Josh,
it was worth a try. It was worth a try.
Yeah. So
You
Josh
might get a
officially
hat.
doesn't understand how to be a manager or how to be an administrator of a LinkedIn.
To be fair, Neeraj hit the nail on the head. I was just looking for money for
You'll get a hat when we hit 1,000 subscriber up there.
I have a new gray one, but it got a little messed up in shipping, so I have it downstairs trying to flex the brim back down. But I'll unveil that one shortly. Just simple, nice.
Very nice. Good stuff. Okay. Well, speaking of good stuff, I'm going to go to the first up, Neeraj Jhaveri. And Neeraj, you have how to automate Azure SQL manage instance database copy and move operations by Sasha Popovic.
Yep, nice article by Sasha where he's showing how to automate your database copy from one instance to another, including some databases or the entire instances from one environment to another. This is something that you can definitely, he's giving you use cases when to use it up, and then he's showing architectural diagram, how to move it from one environment to another, the steps, what is required to go from one environment to another, how you can copy or move the databases from one environment to another. And then the best part is, if you go all the way at the bottom, there's a whole video that shows you how to do it. And to my surprise, it was done by one of the person on this call. So, yep, really nicely done video plus the steps, how to automate it up. And great article to check it out.
Well, and one thing I want to point out with this video, because I very specifically also did it with the TDE protectorate, because one thing to keep in mind for Azure SQL Managed Instance, transparent data encryption is enabled by default, but it's a customer managed key, enabled to be able to, in order to be able to move the database from one instance to another, you need to make sure that you have those keys aligned with one another. I make a very specific note in there because I align the keys, but you don't have to do that. You can also include a key and have multiple keys on, say, like a dev instance if you were going to do a prod refresh. But that video was a lot of fun to make. You know, it's been a while since I did that video. Maybe I should turn around and take some of that and specifically do that for our channel, and do a reposting of that. I was going to say I was going to say it's so flattery, right, for me to say great stuff, but I love Sasha's blog, and keep in mind that he's got a script in there that you can use to be able to automate this using PowerShell that I did not cover in my video. I cover step-by-step how to be able to do the mechanics of it. Sasha has a great script on how to be able to automate this. Very good stuff. So I am up next, and I have one of our amazing MVPs, Edwin de Kirk. And I am on his blog, and he specifically has a page about Fabric content. And he has some resources. He's got an MVP blog and videos. He's got some other blog posts. He's got some community content. And there's some really great community content on here that I can't wait to dive into. Some different videos and podcasts, different items from the Fabric team. And then he's got this broken down by documentation, Microsoft blogs, community blogs, learnings, and video. So a lot of great and wonderful resources on here. Erwin, thank you so much for putting this together. This is a fabulous resource tool. I also shared this on the LinkedIn group for people to access it, but you could also get to it in the description of the video as well. All right. So speaking of more great stuff, up next we have Mr. Daniel Taylor. I've got you with Azure SQL Managed Instance versus Azure SQL Database.
Yeah, so Jared Westover, shout out to this, right? I like getting information from several different sources because we all learn different ways, right? You and I, Brad, have had many conversations about Managed Instance or Azure SQL Database. We've had conversations with the PG. I like here how Jared goes through, and you also have a video on 5 reasons why you should choose Managed Instance on this channel. This gives another perspective, but he goes through his favorite things, creation time, the pause of compute, which is available in dev right now, right? I think it's still in preview. Great to save some Azure costs, some Azure spend. The maintenance window was like, I danced when they put the maintenance window out there because it allows me to shut down my Managed Instance at night in dev when I'm not using it. Once again, saving on cost, which makes Josh very happy. And then many different other features, the SQL Server agent, which I'm happy about. I can get around that, but I'm glad it's there. It makes things a little bit easier when porting over. So it's decisions you make when going, hey, do I need to go Azure SQL Database or Managed Instance? It's just another article by Jared that provides us that skill tree, that matrix in our head, that we can go through. So another great article, from one of our community members.
Excellent. I love it. Speaking of excellence, next up I'm going to go to Josh Ludeman. Mr. Josh Ludeman with Azure SQL Import. Sorry, I was about to say Neeraj, but I decided not to at the last minute. You are excellent as well. Not to mention, when it comes to the hats, you are the excellence of execution.
Thank you, sir. So this is actually a great article from Aditi, and what it covers is the Azure MySQL import service to help customers move from single server to flexible server Azure database for MySQL. It's something that I believe I've shared posts about it, but we've shared on the show before. Posts about single to flexible server migration and how single server in Postgres is going away. This is actually a service to help with a similar issue or similar situation that's going to go on with MySQL, as they're going to retire single server, as the article says, on September 16th of 2024. So you know me, because I've been caught in too many situations where customers have waited till the last minute for retirement. So as soon as these things start to get announced and we have tooling in place for it, I like to bring it out and show it to everybody and take this opportunity to really encourage you to take advantage of the tooling and move from single to flexible server as soon as possible, just so you're not caught on September 12th, 2024 going, oh crap, I've got 4 days. We don't want that for anybody. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
And no, this is great. And look, this is where our tooling team, look, a lot of folks we work with, they complain about, we don't have the proper tooling to do things. This is where our PG and our teams got together and they provided tooling for you. So they've made it easy to go from that single server to the flexible server, which has a lot of great advantages that we can't cover in this one call today. But yeah, that's why I love it. Great stuff, Josh.
Yep. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but the flexible server runs on Linux. Whereas the single server was running more on a Windows core. And one of the things that we found for those database systems was people get more performance on the native Linux kernel for Postgres, for MySQL. And so, I mean, there's not just a retirement date reason to go. There's a performance reason for people to migrate from one to another.
Normally, now you did say, correct me if I'm wrong. Normally you are wrong, but this time you are accurate. Yes, flexible server is Linux, single is Windows.
I deserve that. I have not been nice to you.
You take little jabs at me
I do,
every once in a while, so I got to take a couple shots here and there myself.
Well, we established long ago that in this relationship, Josh considers him the younger brother, which means he gets to poke at me, which means as the older brother, I have to figure out how I poke back. But I can't just smack him because people are watching.
Yes.
So we may need to shut off their screens, Neeraj, so that they can.
Everybody turn around. Everybody turn around. Josh, come here. Speaking of great things to take a look at, we've got up next, I want to say Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri doing data scientist versus data engineer. What is the difference?
So this came up this weekend. I was just talking to one of my friends, kid, and he's going to college. He wanted to see what should he land up into, and then we were discussing, what are the options for him, like data scientist or data engineer, statistician. He's really good in math, so that was like, you have a couple of options that you can definitely go on it. Good article where it goes over responsibilities, what type of skills are required, tools required to do all this stuff, and then it keeps on going. Salary range, which excited him up, saying, okay, this makes sense, I'll go becoming a statistician or something like that. And then some of the books and nicely written down article. I mean, the way it is broken down and what are the ways you can definitely go defining it up. The best part he liked it about is he was now able to figure it out between engineer or a scientist, which route he should be going in there. I mean, still the kid's confused because he's like, oh, IT is just one single thing. That's what he kept on thinking coming out of school right now. So something that helped him out to start deciding which route he should be going. I mean, it's too early for him, but at least he can definitely start thinking about how to go on it. I mean, good for people who are also new to your career, right? I mean, data scientist, data engineer. I mean, you are brand new. You're taking an internship in a company, and you really want to figure out what route to go. This definitely gives you a good skill sets how you can go on it.
Excellent. No, this is great stuff. And this is important distinctions for people to be able to understand, especially when you're interviewing for jobs, when you're looking for jobs, but also from an expectation, right? Because I've seen a lot of people post jobs before saying they want a data scientist, and what they really want is a data engineer. And other people who I'll never forget, I once got on the phone with the customer, and the customer told me they wanted me to science their data. And I told them that's not how science works. So we had to do some level setting there of what we could actually achieve, especially in the 1 week where they thought I would come in and data and science all of their data for a multi-billion-dollar company. That was not likely. But
Can
I
we
mean,
have a call? Can we have a conversation on Friday about looking at doing possibly a video about the funniest things, or maybe this is some shorts we can do, the funniest things we've ever been asked by a consulting.
oh yeah,
client or
we should
customer
we
before.
should do that.
No
Consulting,
names, obviously, but just
of
funniest
course, yeah.
requests ever. Doesn't even have to be customers or clients. Just funniest requests we've ever been given.
You know what?
Uh.
I think we've got some good ones there. That's
Because yeah,
that
your
goes.
science to data one thing, that one just the avalanche of memories just started coming back, and I'm going, oh, there is some gold in there. There is some
Yeah.
gold.
And I guess a little behind the scenes, every Friday we have an internal meeting. We review the analytics for the group. We review ideas. We take a vote on different things that we do. So yeah, the Friday meeting. I think that's a perfect place for us to bring that up. That is so a really, really great idea. Speaking of a really great idea, I would go and read this blog by Jovan Popovic, who is absolutely amazing. And he wrote this blog about Microsoft Fabric and analyzing Lakehouse data with T-SQL. One of the key things that you really need to understand is when we look at a lakehouse, often you think of notebooks, you think of Python, you think of Scala, you think of different languages that you can utilize to be able to look at sciencing data, right? Or applying some type of attribution models or enhancing the data and enriching the data sets that we've got to work with. But it's very important to remember that they set Fabric up to be able to be accessed by multiple different users, specifically with a SQL endpoint. And so the SQL endpoint is something that is provisioned every time that you have a lakehouse, and it allows you to be able to connect and it allows you to be able to run T-SQL queries against that data. One of the things that is absolutely amazing about this, because I know this is possible for KQL, I showed it in the video that we did last Wednesday. Many times you can take these queries and you can save them out with T-SQL. You could save it as a view to then be able to use as a data set that you could read directly into Power BI. So if you write a query and go, I really wish I could just take these imports and very easily import them into my data model that I could use to feed a Power BI report, ask no further. This is something you can do in Fabric, and you can do it with the T-SQL skill set that you already have in place. So it's important to keep that in mind, especially for those DBAs out there, those data engineers that are going to be doing that data engineering work within Fabric.
You know what I'll find interesting as we move forward with more and more Fabric information as it comes in from the users out there is because we're running notebooks, we're running Spark, we're running T-SQL against the same data sets, the performance of all three, right? Because in Azure Analytics workspaces, we used to have to move customers over to a Spark pool, which is difficult to set up. You have to manage security. You have to manage the Spark pool to make sure you don't get too much cost because you needed a performance boost. I'm looking forward to seeing, okay, I've written T-SQL. Do I get the same performance that I used to get with the Spark?
Well, and I was going to say, so there's performance comparisons that you can do for that. But one of the things that I would definitely encourage folks to do is to look at Neeraj's video about cost and understanding the cost within Fabric, because one of the really cool things you can do is you can provision a Fabric workspace. You can upgrade the compute resources for a Fabric workspace if you need to, but you get a certain level of compute and it's just going to operate within that level of compute. And it doesn't matter how many resources we need to throw. You've got a maximum level of resources. If we need to run hot to be able to get you what you need, we will, because that's the commitment we have. We have those different zones. The other neat thing is I was on a call with the product group, and one of the things that we were talking about was a customer had a workspace. They were using dev level compute, and you could provision production level compute and then change that within the workspace. So the customer had decided, hey, we've done all this work. This is dev, but we'd actually like this to be prod. We'll go back and build our dev. And they could just change the Fabric compute within the workspace. Some really, really cool stuff. I think we've just begun to scratch the surface of how innovative and how easy to be able to change things up that we really have with this service. Speaking of innovation, I'm going with Dan Taylor next. Dan, You've got a newcomer to here. This is, oh, sorry, I am a little bit off. This is Will Needham
Yeah.
over on his YouTube channel covering One Lake.
Yeah. So once again, I love different perspectives, and I grabbed this from our new Microsoft Fabric group. So it was a great learning opportunity. Will post this out there. I have some great conversations going on with him in LinkedIn. And if you scroll down to the description, Brad, this is a great summation video. And if you build it up, Will covers from an intro to the problem to the core principles, One Lake basics, and gives you a good, I believe it's about 20-minute video of getting started with Microsoft Fabric and what you need to know about the One Lake. So I love how Will's approach was taken with this, as well as Will's new also to the YouTube thing as well. So I felt good not only learning from Will, but that we were able to find him through the Microsoft Fabric group that you put together on LinkedIn. And he's going to share and collaborate, talking back and forth of how we can build things better. So, and provide feedback. So great video, great person, actually has a really good voice too. I enjoyed listening to Will. I was like, oh, okay, I can listen to his voice. Yeah.
Nice.
I was going to say, I look forward to checking this out because one of the things I was actually talking with our good friend Buck Woody on this. So and we'll cover this a little bit later, but Buck and I are going to do a pre-con on Fabric for SQL Saturday Orlando. And then, of course, myself, Neeraj, Josh Ludeman, and Buck Woody are doing a pre-con for Microsoft Fabric at Live 360. But one of the things we talked about was how we wanted to make sure we educated people. One Lake is essential. One Lake is the Azure storage of it. Like whenever we do a hierarchical session with people, you have to understand Azure storage because everything is built on Azure storage in Azure. You got to understand One Lake because everything in Fabric is built on One Lake. And it is key to really be able to utilize that, key to be able to understand that. So great things. And I'm looking forward to looking at Will's video. Speaking of things I'm looking forward to, I am looking forward to Josh Ludeman taking it home and telling us about the Microsoft Learn AI Skills Challenge.
So yes, finally back to me. But also, honestly, with Andres not here today, I felt kind of guilty that, looking at it, that we may not hit too much on AI stuff. I know that's really close to his heart. And actually what I found here and came across, and I've started digging into it, is through the Educator Developer blog, there's a Learn AI Skills Challenge where you can actually go in and start, basically introducing you to different roles or different parts of AI. So AI Builder Challenge, there's the Cognitive Services Challenge, which gets you into using and deploying the Azure Cognitive Services, Machine Learning Challenge, and of course, near and dear to Andres's heart, the Machine Learning Ops or ML Ops Challenge. To get into that, there's live streams, workshops all throughout here, complete with registration links. And this is going through the the middle of July. So we missed the first session, which was yesterday. But there's prompt engineering with GitHub Copilot and Azure OpenAI, drones using Azure OpenAI, LLMs with computer vision, all the stuff here. It's really a great challenge, opportunity to jump in, learn some new things, and dive in deeper. So definitely recommend it. It kind of checks all the boxes that I know the four of us look for is neat competitions to get into. I mean, competition where you can learn something. Heck yeah.
Where you can learn and you can grow.
Yeah.
I'm sure Andreas would be interested in the drone part of it. He's big on drones.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. That's some really great stuff. And one of the things I love is people are always looking for opportunities to be able to learn, grow, put things on your resume. I remember there was a point in time I was with the U.S. Army, and we didn't have as much to do on the project as they would have liked. And one of the things they said was, hey, you can burn hours learning certifications. And that is, I was a developer and I was doing a lot of accidental DBA work. And that's when I got certified in SQL Server 2005, because they had retired the 2000 certification. And that led to leaps and bounds and growth in my career. I'm literally here today because of the time that I took to invest in those certifications and going down a track as a DBA. So if you're out there and you're looking to get into AI, you're looking for a good opportunity, that some of those live stream sessions run into August. There is plenty for you to be able to get in on and be able to do, and go out and do stuff. Dreaming doesn't get you anywhere, but dreaming and actions combined with one another, that will get you to a new place. And that's definitely, it's a good opportunity to take advantage of. Sorry, Neeraj, go ahead.
No, I was like, Brad's becoming a philosopher now.
I
always like to wax the poetic, especially when I've got a drink or two. I mean, Josh knows that. I think that's.
I was going to say, he's not trying to be. This isn't anything new. Brad always tries to be a philosopher, and occasionally he strikes gold. So.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. That was unusually kind. Thank you, Josh. Speaking of unusually kind, it is your friend of mine, Neeraj Jhaveri, up next with data warehouse sharing. There's an announcement that goes along with this, and this is the blog.
Yep.
Neeraj, walk me through it.
So, good article by Dharini, where security was always asked. I mean, people were like, when are you going to get security in Fabric? So, Warehouse just started doing warehouse sharing, right? You can start sharing your warehouse with people or a group of people using AADs. And then these are different permissions that you can give it out on your data warehousing. It's brand new, still coming up. So eventually it would be in every Fabric, all the security would be in there. But right now, something that you can start working on your data warehousing part of it in Fabric, sharing the security part of it.
Absolutely. And it's really important to allow, and I would equate this, and they do in the blog, and it's wonderful. They equate this to, DB data reader, to read-only type of roles that we have within SQL Server. And so if you need to give people, especially report writers, I may want them to read the data, but I don't want them to be able to physically change the data. This is the perfect level of permission for us to be able to give people so they could do some type of exploratory analysis, read that data, and then take a look at what that data is, produce a notebook against it, things of that nature. But all kinds of wonderful stuff. And I think we're going to see this continue just to grow. And speaking of things that are going to grow, hey, Belkis, how are you doing? Great to have you with us. That's so nice to see you. Oh, Josh, you were muted. I saw your lips moving, though.
Yeah, it was, hey, Belkising. Sorry, there's a thunderstorm going out behind me, so I'm trying to mute unless I'm actually talking.
No, you're okay. So far, we're not hearing anything. It sounds like smooth sailing on your end. So speaking of smooth sailing, one of the things you've got to do to be able to smooth sail, especially when you're going to Azure, is to understand how to be able to connect Power BI to your on-premise data sources before we forklift those into Azure. And what I love is Tadeo Omami, he did a wonderful blog on Power BI data gateways to connect to data sources in the cloud and on-premise. And so he walks through specifically what is a data gateway. And it's so easy for us to be able to forget some of this sometimes because everybody starts off with a certain amount of knowledge, but we all have to learn and grow. So he walks through what is the data gateway, reasons to use the data gateway, different types, the standard, the personal, the virtual network, installation and configuration, connecting it to a source. And then being able to use that source, creating a refresh schedule, which is incredibly important, and then how to be able to use that. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. This is all for Power BI, but I'm going to be very excited when we get the point in time that we can utilize this with Fabric as well. But very detailed, lots of great screenshots, lots of wonderful ways to be able to tell you how to do this, and how to be able to configure it and set it up, as you can see, quite lengthy all the way through. And we're connecting to a SQL server on the back end. Of course, my first technical love. So much great stuff to do, so much you can play around with. He even begins working with Power Automate to be able to do his refresh schedules. I love it. Great stuff.
This is so in depth. I love that.
I was like, it was like one of those cloud cars that you see with it just kept going and going. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, when's it stop? That's
and while he was scrolling. While he was scrolling about 2/3 through, I'm going, wow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Belkis. Hey, you rock. We love working with you. So real quick, Next up is we were talking about essential things, right? Things that keep giving back. Let's talk about something that gives a lot. Dan Taylor, you have Azure Data Tech Group Program overview.
Yes. So was speaking with our good friend Ree, right? Ree Merritt, who runs this program. And we're seeing a lot of adoption of this Azure Data Tech Group. And if you're an Azure Data community out there and you meet the requirements, and you can click through to the requirements from this page and that, which is why I accidentally had multiple links in the spreadsheet, Brad.
Okay.
Not Josh. But it was easy to blame Josh. But yeah, it was. It's a great community, and just let me look at my notes here. So they met yesterday, and I meant to get this out before then, but they talked about things about setting up vanity links for their communities. They talked about topics such as growing memberships post-pandemic, lightning talks, reconnecting with sponsors post-pandemic. They also talked about how they can share with the local tech recruiters in that and pair with those. But they're going to look at creating a LinkedIn group and, the different aspects. And last night's one of the main topics, the good topics that came up was, how do we do this? Do we do hybrid, or do we move to on-premises local chapters? And a lot of groups are going to that because for our smaller chapters, it's just so difficult to have a live stream with a live group going on. So TLDR, Dan, right? TLDR, if you are an Azure Data Tech leader out there, get signed up for this group, because they're a great support group and they're going to help us grow back post-pandemic, which is what we need to do. Because I miss the days of sitting with 30 people in a room on a Wednesday night, just chilling and learning and, just being good peoples. So anyhow.
Well, so one of the things wow. Well, that's a heck of an increase.
I take full.
That's good. Well, you know what, Josh, as a manager, you should take full credit. I believe that's what you do. That's that's been my experience with managers. And you, well, I was going to say, you give a ton of credit to your people, so it's about time you took some credit for yourself.
I was going to say, I take no credit. In fact, I give away credit. I mean, let's go back to episode 2 or 3 or whatever it was.
Josh Ludeman, king of Microsoft. I'll let Satya know. He'll be waiting.
Take that credit. No.
No, real quick, I want to go back to what Dan was saying about the user groups, right? The user groups are an essential part of, I mean, literally everything when it comes to learning. I came in through the community. I came in through user groups. Josh, I know you did. Dan, I know you did. It's interesting, Neeraj, you came in through Microsoft, but you're getting a ton of experience with the community now. And that was one of the things we talked about as we started the channel, is that we are all at a different place on our journey. And it's kind of exciting to see us all learn and grow and do these things together. But that community came together at the grassroots level because of user groups. And going in there, I remember, there would be a DBA with a problem, and they would say what their issue was, and you would have a whole bunch of people genuinely vested in helping them determine what the solution would be. And then also looking at following up with them and making sure that there was a solution. And so that sense of community, sharing a meal with people, which we used to do, right? And then seeing somebody come in and present, that was such a wonderful experience. And then that would be the group that we go and we have our SQL Saturdays with. We have our data Saturdays with, and then that's also the same crew we would see at those different conferences. And so everything kind of builds from that grassroots level. And remember, when we had Rion, when we interviewed her in the fall of last year, she said, when PASS went under, she had a conversation with the leadership team. And I don't know if people know this, but Satya is in the room for this. And they said, what do we do? And she said, save user groups. So if we save user groups, we saved the community, and we are still committed to that mission. And if you're a user group attendee or a user group leader out there, make sure you're looking at what we're doing, because we're trying to help and give away these free resources. We're also trying to organize people and collect them together, and also help them understand. Rhea has organized so many SQL Saturdays. She understands how to be able to run a user group, how to be able to run an event, and you want somebody with experience helping you understand how to do these. Okay, sorry, I will get off my soapbox, and I will bring up the piece de la resistance, the creme de la creme.
I'm sorry, I just have
Josh
to give it a preach, Brad.
Ludeman.
Boo!
Last,
I mean,
but certainly not least, what?
Whoa.
Assess your cloud journey using Cloud Adoption Strategy Evaluator by the ever elegant Thomas Maurer.
Yeah, and so I found this in links from Thomas, and frankly, I loved it because I feel like we've seen this, especially with Fast Track, with helping customers onboard over the last few years, is really making sure that you're ready to make the leap into the cloud is probably the most critical piece. Because if you're not ready, the whole project has a high risk factor. And so what this does is this assessment actually walks through and starts asking you proven questions that have been proven through our engagements, through engagements that the sales teams and the CSA teams have had with their customers, to really gauge out and then score your strategy and really how prepared you are, it references that the posture that you're in to go to the cloud, to adopt cloud. And it helps to highlight then some of those points where you need to actually dive in and get a little bit more. Maybe you need more documentation on your business outcomes, for instance. But it helps you to dive into those areas, see those areas in front of you, and know what you need to focus on to improve your posture. So yeah, score is not a measure of success or failure. That is a big good point, Brad. And yeah, kind of what I was getting at before with the, it's just to highlight and really score it on where you're at, whether or not you're ready, but it's not going to say you're going to fail. And then to conclude, Thomas has this great video with Keisha that he goes through and actually walks through the strategy evaluator and how to use it. Definitely recommend it, especially if you're even considering looking at going to cloud anytime soon, or even if you're there.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, and
Nice.
I love a good Thomas blog. He always does such an amazing job. He posts wonderful content over on LinkedIn. He's got great videos that he does, solid through and through. Great recommendation, Josh. So with that, it is time for us to wrap things up. I want to point out a couple things that we've got going on. So first up, tonight I am presenting to the Austin user group in Austin, Texas. I'll be posting that link over in LinkedIn. It is a meetup group. I'm doing a really fun presentation on using OpenAI, VS Code, to be able to get insights from your data on Azure SQL Managed Instance. In September, we are going to be presenting at the Future Data Driven Conference for 2023. We are all so excited about that. Me and Josh have a presentation. Dan has a presentation. Neeraj has a presentation. Andreas has a presentation. You are going to get, I was going to say, a big dose of Tales from the Field that day. You want to go and register and be online and check it out. And then, Josh, I'm going to ask you to give it to me quick. In November, the week before Thanksgiving, it is time to start booking your travel. We will be at
Universal Studios Orlando, on the grounds of the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort, at the beautiful Live 360 conference.
I was going to say, Doesn't get much better than that. I am so excited for this. This is our favorite conference every single year. If you go to aks.ms Live 360, that will direct you to the Live 360 page. We are going to have that pointing at our pre-con, myself, Neeraj Jhaveri, Josh Ludeman, Buck, Woody. We are all doing a full day of Microsoft Fabric for the data professional. It's going to be a lot of fun. Keep in mind, we're going to have some new content dropping tomorrow. And also add to your schedule in October on Saturday the 21st, but also Friday the 20th. It will be SQL Saturday Orlando. Myself and Buck Woody will have a pre-con on that Friday. I know that I'm going to submit. We haven't heard back yet. Dan, I think you're going to submit, but we are looking to do some stuff early on that day and get out to Orlando. It'll be a great time. Haven't been there in years. It's always a wonderful time over there.
That long drive to Orlando.
I know, Josh, it's just so difficult. All right. Remember, if you've got content, we would love to feature you if you're a creator in the community. So reach out to us on our Twitter account, TailsFT the Field. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you and feature your stuff. There's a story in every one of you, and we would love to take it. For Neeraj Jhaveri, Dan Ludeman, and Josh, I'm sorry, Dan Ludeman, Dan Taylor, and Josh Ludeman. Josh Taylor and Dan Ludeman, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Take care out there. Bye, folks.
Bye.